Don't go.
Welcome to the Vinny Rock Podcast.
I took the blows and did it my way.
It's time. The Vinny Rock Podcast. All right. What's going on? Good morning. It is the Vinny Rock Podcast. I have my guest with me, Vince Papale, from, most of you would know, from the movie. It's his story they told on Invincible with Mark Wahlberg as the lead. And what an incredible story it is, Vince. What an incredible story it is. I seen this years ago. Never would I have imagined I'd be sitting here interviewing you.
I couldn't imagine I'd be sitting here with you, and we got two Vinces, which is pretty cool. And then my son, we got Vinny, so we got the perfect trifecta.
Yeah, I was gonna name my son Vince, and I ended up my oldest son. His middle name is Vincent. So yeah, and I've always wanted to call one of my boys Vinny, and I've never done that. I don't know why.
yeah, yo, Vinny. Well, you know what? Everybody calls him Junior, and I made sure that I gave him the different middle name that I have. My middle name is Francis. This is Joseph. And my father's Francis Joseph. So I got the Vinny out. I didn't the Junior out. I didn't want him to be a junior. I could be that ever happened to that poor kid. You know?
Yeah, that's happened to my brother. He's a junior, and his name is Carlos Vargas Jr., but no one calls him Carlos, always Junior.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, Vince, it's crazy. That story, and you know what's funny? I did a lot of research on the background of the actual story from what was made and then reality. And, you know, I know because I'm in the film industry, I know that there has to be give and take when telling a story, because for the audience or for whatever the case, and in this case, for the NFL to approve it, they had to make a couple adjustments to the film when it comes to your wife or your wife and her background and, you know, her being a Giants fan on the movie, right? Is she a Giants fan? I want to make sure everyone who hears this knows the truth.
Well, that's one of the most often asked questions ever, you know. And no, she's not a Giants fan. Well, we're sort of Giants fans because we were always rooting for Eli, but you know, and we have a couple of friends up there in New York. But like you know, she wore the three greatest letters ever in the world, and that's USA. And I know you wore that proudly on your chest, and you're looking right over here. You can see that's Janet's jersey that she wore when she represented the United States in gymnastics on the world team back in the 70s, the Munich days, you know, with Kathy Rigby. Yeah, and what you said, Vin, is, you know, you were talking about some of the things that Hollywood has to do and, you know, with the NFL. And in order to get the branding rights for the NFL, and we presented our script originally to Disney and because to the NFL, we needed their endorsement to get the branding rights. Otherwise, it'd be just like the movie Replacements or Longest Yards. You know, you make up a fictional name like the Generals, the Birds, whatever, the Turkeys and Pigeons. NFL originally turned us down, and then our guys stayed on top of it, and they were pretty persistent. They're also the same guys that did one of the greatest movies ever, and that's Miracle and Rookie.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Those movies, both those movies, all three of these movies are the same feel. You watch them, you get inspired, motivated, you fall in love with the characters and the story, and you dig deeper into it. When you say The Rookie, I'm a baseball player. I played college baseball. And so that I got out of the military and still had a little fire in me. And I wish. So your story going back at an older age and competing and getting on is a dream of mine. It was a dream for years. And you know, the stars didn't align for me, right? Then nothing popped up, or also I didn't have the guts to go and do it. And so just the fact that you did, but going back to when Disney made those movies, you know, I work for Disney currently. I'm actually an employee under the whole Disney umbrella because of the show that I work on now. And, you know, they are the type of company that will go out of their way to make sure that story is told in a beautiful light.
Yeah, you know, they're not going to do anything to embarrass you. And that was one of the things we wanted to make sure. And I certainly didn't want to embarrass my wife, Janet, of anything that they were going to portray her as. And in reality, her uncle actually owned the bar, but for her to be the bartender. So we acquiesced eventually to the NFL, and they said, okay, these are the adjustments that we'd like you to make in the story. And because the NFL and also there was that big New York connection, they said, let's make her a Giants fan. And you know, when I went and I said to Janet, this is the way they want to go. I said, you don't have to sign off on this. What, are you crazy? You're going to give up a Disney movie? She said, that's not my story. It's our, you know, it's your story. So in a heartbeat, she just signed off, and we made her a Giants fan. You know what? See, just because of the fact that you had asked me that question, that's perfect, because it gives me the perfect lead. When I'm out speaking, I have this really cool section in it, you know, about, you know, that's real versus real, R-E-A-L, as opposed to R-E-E-L. And I do that, and the first thing is, you know, how true is the movie? And, you know, as Dick Vermeil says, it's not a documentary. And the other is, you know, is how was Mark Wahlberg? You know, and we'll get into that, I'm sure, at some point. And the other is, your wife really a Giants fan, and you know she is not. And but she was a Penn State, and she did wear her blue, but she didn't even know if you stuffed or pumped a football back then in the day, Vince. You know, now she knows, and of course, a big Eagles fan, and you know, our son's playing football. He's chasing the dream. And hey, last time I was out in San Diego, I had him out there for a camp when he was about 12 years old. It was a really cool experience. So yeah, it's all good, you know. So she is not a Giants fan, but she's Eagle fan, true and blue. And but right now we're the fan of our kids, and you know, chasing their dreams with them.
I hear you. I'm right there with you. My daughter is graduating high school this year. She's a Utah State champion wrestling. She's a 106-pound wrestler. We got.
Somehow, Mike, I lost your sound.
You lost my sound?
I can just about hear you, and I'm at full volume here on my computer.
There we go. We're back.
There you go. All right.
Saying I understand that. I have a daughter who is graduating high school. She's a Utah State champ in wrestling. We've started her wrestling at a very young age. Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
And wrestling is kind of this new space where women are starting to really grow. It's considered the fastest growing sport for women in America. And we're trying to get her a scholarship to a D1 college. But right now, wrestling isn't there yet. There is no Division I wrestling for girls. And so she's going to continue on with her life and go to school. And I'm hoping somewhere down the road it shows up. But now we're focusing on all the other kids' sports and everything else. We have a ton of kids, so we won't even get into that world. But I love that. And, you know, my question is for you in high school, you played 3 sports. You were a basketball, you were a football, and also a track varsity lettered in. What position did you play in football?
Well, actually, I played 4. My junior year, I played baseball, and they threw me down to JV, and I got pissed off, so I stopped doing that. And then that's when I got into the 3-sport thing. They don't do this anymore, as you know, because everybody now, all the seasons roll into each other. And there's all these conflicts, and of course, the basketball coach doesn't want the football player his kid to play. You know, I mean, it's just a whole different ballgame. But I started out as a wide receiver. I came in as a first-year senior, and they had told me when I was a sophomore and a junior, because I wasn't even just about 5 feet tall when I was 14. They'd say, "Hey, you're too small. You're going to get killed out there." You know, but all I wanted to do is just play safety, basically, or be a running back. But eventually, my senior year, my junior high school, and I'll tell you about this guy eventually when we talk about the dream, if we do. My first teacher, the guy actually taught me how to wear a jock strap, for crying out loud, and he said, you know, you can't even, you can't wear the same socks in phys ed that you wear in the classroom. You know, you got to change your socks. These are the things I remember from my coach. He becomes the high school coach, and he invited me out for a team. He said, "Vince, how come you're not coming out? I remember you from a few years ago. You were the fastest guy in the field." So now I'm huge. I'm about 5'6", 160 pounds. And he says, "Come on out." He says, "I want you to come out for the team." And I went out. And what he did actually is because I was so fast and I just could catch everything that hit my hands. He actually changed the offense and geared the offense around me and our quarterback. And he went into what was going to be basically whatever the standard defense or offense back in the day. He made it a slot offense, and he kept me out there. And I wound up leading the team in touchdowns and receptions in the county. As just a kid, but I was so small. Still, then I didn't get any offers to to go to any colleges, because by then, I was a first year senior. Nobody knew who I was.
Yeah.
So, but I was going to get that opportunity. My science teacher in junior high school always remembered me as a kid with heart. And he said, I'll give you a tryout because I'm the freshman coach at a teacher's college back then called Westchester. And that's where my sister went. And I said, well, hey, listen, let's give this a shot. And then track got in the way, and I wound up getting a scholarship pole vaulting. But
right. And so you did 4 years of college track, correct? Pole vaulting is where you excelled more than anything.
I guess so, yeah. But you know what they did is when I came in, I thought I was just going to be a pole vaulter. And then we had a new coach come in, and he says, you're going to do more than pole vault. You're going to hurdle. You're going to lead off our relay team. You're going to long jump. You're going to triple jump. And as it turned out, Vince, every meet I would do 5 events, including the pole vault. Right. And that event led to the decathlon.
The decathlon, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah,
so it was a natural. And actually, I was training for this and the decathlon, and things didn't quite go my way. And that's when I started playing semi-pro football, which led to the World Football League, which led to the NFL. So, when one door slams, as you know, another one opens up. You just got to be flexible, agile, call your audibles, as you know, as an athlete. And, you got every once in a while, you got to take that pitch, and then, so I took a few pitches and then it all hit.
So I love that. And so at this point, when you're getting the chance to go try out for the Eagles, what is your height and weight at the time around?
6'2", $198.
It's good size.
Yeah, and could fly. Everybody might remember Billy White Shoes Johnson. He was a return guy for the Atlanta Falcons, the Houston Oilers. He did the funky chicken.
Yes, yes.
And Shoes actually was a kid that I coached against, and I knew him, and I competed. I was in this pickup meet just to get myself. I was trying to run as many events I could to get myself in shape for the decathlon. And I chased him then in a 100-yard dash, and he ran a 9.6, and I was right on his heels. He looked back, and he says, Mr. Papali, because I was the coach then. And he, Mr. Papali, he says, hey, you. And so that's the kind of speed that I had, But I was 6'2", $195, and ran that 4.5 on grass, which,
that's incredible.
Yeah, that's a 4.3, 4.35.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's some speed.
It is what it is, But the thing is I had to learn offenses. Speed, as they say, speed kills. But what are you going to do with that speed? Are you going to be able to translate it into it?
I went to high school. I went to high school with a kid who was the fastest runner in the Diamondbacks baseball organization. The problem was, I guess he never got all the tools after that, right? They drafted him because of his speed, and then trying to put together everything else. Baseball, they like to look for 5-tool players, hit, run, size, arm, all these things. And he was just one of those incredible. His speed was so fast that they drafted him, but he never turned out to, in his career, to become go to the majors all the way because he couldn't put those tools together or whatever the case. Who knows? But he got drafted based on speed alone. It didn't matter. You have a guy that fast on a baseball field, he could make a difference. And that's pretty powerful. But you got the speed, the heart, and everything else attached to it. That became a pretty awesome thing for them to look at. And when you showed up, I imagine they were like, how old is this guy and how is he so damn fast?
I don't think Coach knew at the time, because after the tryout in real life, in the movie that, he asked, how old are you? And I said, well, how old are you, Coach? I would never say that to Dick Vermeil. But we actually, Vincent, we really did have that conversation. And actually it was in the elevator at Veterans Stadium. He said, you just popped a 4.5. And he said, where'd you play your college football? And I didn't play college football. So I lied. I said, Temple. That's the first thing that came to my head, because that was our biggest rival on track. And then he said, well, how old are you? Well, I was 30, and I'm 24. Yeah, I mean, here's the guys coming from Brentwood, for crying out loud. You're a West Coast guy. These people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
About Philadelphia, right? So so I said I'm 24, and I don't even know. But all I know is 15 minutes later, I got called up to the executive offices, and I signed a lucrative $21,000 contract to become a Philadelphia frickin' Eagle, man. And I was a season ticket holder for 10 years. I'm the guy that sat in the stands and said, "Oh man, just give me that goddamn shot," I'm not.
I mean, I can't say that I've had a similar experience in sports, but I've had a similar experience in acting. I'm currently on one of the most popular shows in the world, and I was given an opportunity to act. It was one of those dreams where I want to be an actor. I started doing acting, auditioning, and I showed up to knowing the biggest show in the world that will potentially be, and I got the chance. And I'm currently living that dream now as an actor on a big show and getting the opportunity to show my skills. And it feels very similar where you're like, oh my God, I'm doing exactly. It wasn't 10 years ago. I'm sitting there watching this TV show and saying, man, I would love to be an actor on this. And now the spinoff, I'm an actor on it. I imagine it's very similar for you watching the football field, sitting there saying, I'd love to play on the field. And then the next season you're on the field playing.
Well, you got everybody out there that's watching and listening to us. You got to tell us what you're doing and where you're at.
Yeah, I'm on a show called Mayans MC. It's a spinoff of Sons of Anarchy. Sons of Anarchy did 7 seasons. It was one of the biggest shows to ever hit the airs. And we got the spinoff of we got the spinoff called Mayans MC. We're on our 3rd season. It's considered to be the most talked about television show currently right now. My character is Gilly, and it's a little bit of a crazy, violent, television show, but every actor out there, Latino actor, was trying to get a role on this show. And I was very fortunate to be one of those ones who got it. And so, I'm currently in that. I guess I can kind of say I feel what you feel when you're sitting there trying to be on that field. And now you're on that field at that moment. I feel like I'm kind of living in that right now currently.
Well, that's what's so beautiful about how we relate with each other, because we're both of that same mindset. And I can guarantee you that, and this is part of when I get out and speak, when I talk about the roadblocks, and all the negativity around you, because, oh, you kidding me? This guy wants to go to Hollywood. What do you know? You don't have the skills. Where's your resume? Well, you're this, you're that. You're a former whatever you used to do, and I absolutely guarantee that you went through that, but somehow, you stayed focused and you made it happen. So there's your Invincible story.
I appreciate
it. About you, man.
Maybe one day.
Maybe, that's right. Marcus too.
I wanted to ask, man, one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when you were playing football with your buddies. You went back to the park and played. And I know in reality, you did have 3 really good buddies, but was that football game, is that something you guys did, or is that a movie thing?
No, we always did those leagues. It was called the Delaware County Rough Touch Football League. I grew up in suburban Philadelphia, little place. The Delaware County is sort of this county that's situated between where Philadelphia Airport is, and then about 20 miles down, you run into the state of Delaware, and we're sort of sandwiched right in there, a little peninsula with the Delaware River right there, sort of bordering us. And these were my guys, and I started doing that when I was actually teaching back at my alma mater. I was a full-time teacher, and one of the guys that is portrayed in the movie was my best friend, and actually because I was coaching track, he was my throwing coach. He said, "Come on, man, I play in this rough touch league. You're going to love it." And he says, afterwards, we just go out, we raise hell, drink a few beers, do this and that. Now, at that time, I'm a season ticket holder with the Eagles. And I did go out and I did play in that league. And then eventually I wound up playing for some, like the Cannon's Cafe, Deacon Ale House, Maximilian's Tavern. And Max is the one that is that's featured in the movie. That was one that's in the neighborhood. I still go there.
No
when
way.
I'm in the neighborhood, it's not Max's anymore. It's called the Tumble Inn. But I still go there. I mean, just time has changed. I'll go there and I'll see the pinball machine. I'll see the pool table. I'll see all my buddies, and that just cool. Brings back the best memories in the world. But at that one scene, I think that you're talking about, especially it's one of my favorite scenes. It's a scene in the mud.
Yes.
And it was really cool how they created that scene and how they shot it. They actually shot it at 11 o'clock at night till 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh man,
we had to have total darkness. They didn't want to have any sunsets or sunrises or any of that kind of stuff. And they had these big sprinklers, and they would be pouring, or they could have the rain go down any way they wanted to go. So this is really funny, man. So the first time that they're going to shoot that scene, and they brought in tons and tons and yards of this special mud that's not really mud, but it's mud.
Yeah.
It's not going to fly all over the place. And when they put the water on, about a zillion worms popped out, and everybody was all freaked out, right? So they had to tear the field apart and then bring in some new mud, wormless, and they shot the scene. And what would be really cool is I'd be there right next to me, and my son Vinny, who's now in Indianapolis, going to be playing in the spring league. He just popped in there yesterday. And my son Vinny and I would be on the sideline, and he'd be coming from his practice, and he'd have his white practice uniform on, and they would be standing right there watching this scene happen. And then one time, Wahlberg saw him, and he saw Vinny on the sideline, and I have this great video of Mark Wahlberg and my son chasing each other, playing tackle in the mud. And,
man, I would love to see that.
I would have never in real life, I never would have gone and played one of those games, especially when I'm under contract with the Eagles.
Yeah.
But as they say, and as you know, they use this term and expression, it played well. The audience loved it. And the music, and it was special music, and the whole deal, and all the drama. But here's my favorite scene, because it's right after that. And then Mark is driving through the streets of Philadelphia, and he sees these little kids playing football, and the football runs out goes into the street. That little boy that picks up that ball with number 83 on my back is now Vinny Papale, that's out there with Jerry Glanville playing in the spring league in Indianapolis, right? So that's my little boy. And my daughter Gabriella, who used to wear that jersey up there at Syracuse University as a cheerleader, my daughter Gabriella is the one that threw the ball out on the street, and she's the quarterback on that team. That's my favorite. That's my favorite scene in the movie. And every time I see it, it's it's just with kids, the things change.
Oh, I know.
Man, that one chokes me up. But it's just, as when you know how they create scenes and the beauty of it, and that was really a beautiful rendition of they called it the moment of truth.
Yeah, that scene. Yeah, that scene was where you got your character in the movie became grounded and fell in love with the sport again, fell in love with the beauty of it, the camaraderie of it, and his friends again. It's kind of like in the movie, it was the most important part that turned the character. And so now he started to love what he did again, and not all the pressure behind him becoming an Eagle. So it was a really great scene. I loved it.
You're absolutely right, Vince. And you know what it is? And it is, if you think a little bit further out, it's a metaphor for life.
Yes.
That no matter what the struggle is and what you're going through, and if you lose your self-confidence, where do you reach to? Where do you go back to? When you go back to those things that you do very well, those things you're comfortable with, you get into your comfort zone. You don't sit in a corner and suck your thumb and go with crayons. You go out,
Yes, sir.
And me and you compete.
Yes, sir.
And that was a beautiful scene, and that's why they call it the moment of truth. It's the reconnection, not only with me and the love of the game, but also with me and my friends. And that one guy that's portrayed as Johnny, he was that guy. He really was that, and he still to this day will not talk to me. I don't know why. I don't know what happened, but to this day he doesn't.
It happens. The downer, the Debbie Downer, yeah, I hear you. Well, let me shift gears on you for a second, because the other cool thing that I saw when I started researching was that you work with a lot of veterans. You do, and that's for me is near and dear to my heart, obviously, because being a veteran and now being where I've gotten to, I've also had to, I guess, endure a lot of hardships to kind of keep moving forward. Same talks about your mindsets and how do you can't sit in the corner and suck your thumb. You got to start moving forward, right? And so I love the fact that you work with veterans, and I'm curious to what is it that you're so connected with working with veterans, and why is that?
Well, I guess I was always enamored with the military, and as a kid I was. My father did not. And my father actually couldn't get into World War II because he grew up in a pig farm. They didn't have running water, and he was cleaning out a latrine, believe it or not, and he got lye in his eye, and his father wouldn't let him wash it out, and he was legally blind in one eye, so he didn't get there. But we grew up in a development that was all the people around me. There were a lot of military people right outside of Philadelphia, and I just had an affinity for it. And when I started running track, and I went to Quantico, and I did 2 events. I did two meets down at the Quantico relays. I said, this is me. I had no desire after I graduated from college, because Vietnam was just about starting to get into its heyday. I had no desire to think that I was going to go anywhere other than to be in the military. And I started thinking, you know what, I can be a Marine. I want to do this. And I was thinking about enlisting as a Marine. And believe it or not, I got a teaching job. And at that particular time, teachers were deferred. And I didn't teach to be deferred. You know, I taught because I wanted to coach and also wanted to help kids. And so that's how it happened. And I just never got into the military. But then, you know, I just thinking and seeing my buddies coming back from Vietnam, and some of them, the way they were castigated and the way they were just ridiculed, you know, for they're just doing their job. And so I figured, you know, what can I do to help out? And I just got involved, and it was just a matter of evolution, and one that I'm particularly proud of. And aside from what we're doing right here with Operation Invincible and what we're doing with the homeless vets, you know, and what's going on in this big event we have this on May 1st in Philadelphia with the homeless vets, is a friend of mine asked me, and his name is Tom Manion, and his son Travis, and it's at TravisManionFoundation.org. His son Travis was 1 week left in his second tour, and he went out to take care of one of his guys. He was a captain, and his sniper took him out. And this was 13 years ago. And so they have this, what they call the Travis Manion Foundation. And he invited me to Andrews Air Force Base to speak at his golf tournament. Now these guys, you know, there's guys from Black Hawk Down, and there's the SEALs, there's some Marines, there's 2 stars, 3 stars. And I'm thinking, what the hell can I possibly say to them that would make a difference? So what I did is, as I relayed my experiences when I went to Walter Reed Hospital to visit some of the wounded that were there. And when I left there, I get on the train, and I see James Brown, the James Brown that does the NFL stuff. And he says, Vince, he said, geez, oh man, he says, you got a look on your face. I said, I just visited these vets, and I can't believe the reaction toward me, that I was there for them. And I'm just, these guys are my heroes. So I wrote about it, and I called it The Second Chance. And, you know, because there were some pro athletes in the NFL that said, oh, I want a second chance, you know, for this and that. And I'm thinking, man, if somebody like you, if somebody like whomever those that were injured were given that second chance, what would life be like? So I wrote about it. So that I relayed that story to them. And
I can't wait to read it. I have to read that. Well, I'm going to tell you this, Vince. I don't know if you know this, but I've been working with veterans and struggling with transition for many years now. And in that process of meeting and interviewing and talking with all kinds of different people, professional athletes actually have the most similar struggle of transitioning out of professional sports. And so it's just funny. We have a lot more in common than you think. And your story alone is inspiring. And so veterans will always be drawn to those inspirational stories of intestinal fortitude, of just being willingness to just keep going, following your dreams. Like, I push all these veterans to don't stop. Your service might be done, but your service to yourself and your country can still move forward. And I've talked to so many professional athletes, like, when you have to hang up those cleats, that is a hard decision to make. And you will always chase like shoulda, coulda, wouldas. You'll always sit there and miss it, and you'll always want to be a part of it in some way. And it's not easy. And it's the same thing you've gone through yourself, Vince, when you walked away from the Philadelphia Eagles. That struggle that you probably never really talked about too often, you probably never really mentioned too much. There's a struggle there. That's what we dealt with as well. And so there is this similarity that is so valuable. And I think guys like you who've had this awesome career of getting there and then being there and then getting out, I think that's a big relatable topic.
You know, it's an interesting point that you bring up, and I don't talk about too much, Vince, but you know, look, I was a school teacher working on my master's degree and all that stuff, you know, prior to going in there. It's not like I didn't have something I could have fallen back on. And then, but I somehow, some way, I got into broadcasting, and CBS picked me up in Philadelphia, and I was a broadcaster. And then at the last minute, you know, I thought I was making the perfect transition, and everything was as it was. And then what happened is my marriage was falling apart. I know I'm a goofball because I want so much to be back there. I didn't go out the way I wanted to go out. I didn't walk away. I was sort of, I blew both my shoulders out. It was whatever happened. And so, but I still think I have the broadcast thing that's going to be the great transition. And then somebody new comes in that used to be here. There was a little bit of jealousy going on because we were number one in the weekends, and I'm not used anymore. And that was basically it. So all of a sudden, this future I thought I had, my marriage is crumbling, all this stuff. I went through a rough time. And I went from I was on the top of Mount Everest. I'm telling you, I was there, doing this. I was doing the Rocky thing on Everest. And then it fell apart. And thank God I ran into the women that I have right now. My beautiful wife Janet for 27 years. But she was going through the same thing as well.
Yes, her as a high-level athlete.
And she blew her knee out against the Romanians or Yugoslavians, and she had to recapture her identity. As she said, she wasn't ready to give up her leotard. For me, I wasn't ready to take those cleats and hang them over my neck and just walk away into the distant sunset. It just wasn't part of the way I wrote my script. And
I get it.
That's it.
Man,
I'm not telling you nothing you don't know, man.
Yeah, my hard transition, my first one was losing baseball. I became academically ineligible. I lost a full ride scholarship, and I had a baby on the way. I was like, okay, got to join the military. That was a tough one. It was a tough pill to swallow. Anything for the kids, yes, but at the same time, I was like, man, I was so close, and I made one mistake, and I lost baseball forever. And so that was a hard one for me. And then getting out of the military again. My identity, like you said, she was struggling to find her identity. You're struggling to find your identity. We struggle to find our identity. We get out of the military and what are we now? There is no big mission that we're a part of. There is no big picture plan that is bigger than us that we can fight for. And so a lot of guys out there are struggling to find that. And that's really my big push is helping guys find connection again to something, find these new little missions, accomplish small missions. Eventually you'll get to the big one. You'll find what you're meant for. And for me, if anything, maybe I'm meant for just to be a voice for others, to serve others, and to continue to push others to do more. I don't know. Right.
Well, you do what you can, and what you're doing. And obviously I know you're helping so many people out there, and you're in a position, you have a platform now, and you can use this platform in so many different ways. Some, as you can see, what's going on in our society and what's going on in politics right now, sometimes that platform's a little bit tilted. But if you stay level and you focus on what you want to focus on, you can use where you are and what you're doing as that platform. And that's what I like with that Invincible and that Mark Wahlberg, yes, and that connection with him and the patriot that Mark Wahlberg is. And he represents me. And I'm so proud of that. And I try to use this platform. I always say, make an impact today with tomorrow in mind, and win today, man. If you win today, tomorrow is going to be a little bit better day. And if you get tomorrow and you win tomorrow and then you win the next day, now you've won the week. And then if you win another week, you win the month, but you can't do it without somebody around you and having that team around you, and I call it the Invincible team, teamwork, dream work. I mean, here you go. I'll show you this right here.
Let's see it.
This is the that you've seen this before. Right?
I know exactly what that is.
Yeah, so you know where that comes from, and and I use that as a metaphor when I talk about what member of that team are you, and what's your oar, and what oar do you pull? You're going to be the leader. You're going to one trailing behind, and then you're going to play that role with passion. I mean, we are in a position, Vincent, where we can really affect people in a positive way. And you ask me why do I do what I do and why do I get involved with the veterans? Is because Invincible is all about that dream. And it's guys like you and it's guys like those Colonel Manion and Travis Manion that made the ultimate sacrifice. It's people like you that keep that dream alive. And to see what's going on around us right now and see people try to do everything they can to create the nightmare that's going to ruin that dream. Yes. I can't let that happen. And so that whether it's the homeless vets, whether it's the wounded warriors, whether it's the paralyzed vets, whether it's the Travis Manion Foundation, when they come to me, I just can't say no. I just can't say no because I have so much respect for what you've done and how you keep that dream alive. And I'm not bullshitting you. I mean, that's how I feel. And that's what it's all about.
Well, I appreciate it. And honestly, it's been an honor to be able to interview you. I would love for us to connect outside of here. I would love to go golfing with you sometime. I would love to just be able to have dinner and talk with your wife and my wife, and we can hang out sometime, man. It'd be great. It'd be an honor.
Oh, that would be awesome. Absolutely.
Well, let's wrap this up. Is there any organizations you want to plug right now? Talk about them. Let's give them their attention to people that are watching and that will be listening. I want them to be able to Google it, find it, and support everything that you're a part of.
Well, one is the Travis Manion Foundation, and the other obviously is the homeless vets that we're doing right now, and it's veteransorg.com, and veterans.org, and that's the website that we want to go on, and I know Mike can put that up there, and they're the two. Anything else? It's right. I'm just a dad. And I've been out. The movie's been out for 15 years, and for anybody out there, just do whatever you can to make an impact. Keep a positive attitude, And I think I heard the greatest speech at the Oscars the other night when a guy said, "My mom taught me not to hate." We got to start wrapping arms around each other and learn to love a little bit more. And I think we do that, we're going to be a better place to live in. But
yes, sir.
They're some of my favorites, and hey, you do what you. I just did a great thing. It's called the Super Bowl of Caring, and it's all about the taking care of the hungry. Believe it or not, there are people here in this country that are hungry.
Yes, sir.
Food, and we've got to help them, and so many, of course, are the homeless, but there are those that just because of everything that's going on, just need help. So just when you see somebody needs help, just reach out, give them a hand.
No, for sure. I love it. And Vince, I hope we connect and we'll connect with Mark Wahlberg. Hint, have him give me a call sometime.
I'll tell you what, Mark is so intense, and he's the absolute best. You talk about guys that gave everything, for me. He actually pulled me to one time. He says, I thought doing Invincible was the toughest thing I ever did, though I did Lone Survivor. So I said, yeah, thanks, Mike. Mark. But Mark's a good friend. We stay in touch. And look, I'm a blessed man. I've got two beautiful children. My prayers to my son Vinny. He's out there chasing his dream, trying to get into the NFL, and he's got the legendary Jerry Glanville as the coach. So
that's great.
It's all good.
That's good, man. So I'll say my prayers for him, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'll make sure that Mike gets all the plugs in. I want to make sure we have everyone that you're working with right now, that people get to find it and hit the links and share it. Anything you ever need of me when it comes to veterans, I would love to help. So please reach out at any time. Okay.
All right, and my buddy Steve Phil by my nose on there, and everybody out there in Philadelphia, we'll see you on May 1st at the zoo in Norristown, and we're going to have at 4:30, and all your proceeds will go to the homeless veterans and the homeless shelter in Philadelphia. That's the one right now I'm really focusing on, and God bless them and anybody that's out helping. So thank you, Vincent. Appreciate it very much. God bless you and the USA, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.